Cenk Ilik gets into his car. Just days earlier, he had uploaded a video on social media filled with threats aimed at Turkish underworld figure Sedat Peker. He laughed into the camera, confident that words could shield him. He was wrong. In broad daylight, Ilik is mercilessly executed on an open street. Known for posting insulting videos targeting Sedat Peker, he is shot dead in the Mranai district of Istanbul. Investigators later confirmed that Ilik had shared multiple videos attacking Peker directly. Around noon, he leaves his home. A person who has been following him closes in from behind and pulls the trigger repeatedly. The killing is swift, precise, and public. Officially, Sedat Peker is living a life of luxury exile in Dubai. But his name still triggers the same reaction on the streets of Istanbul: fear, respect, silence. This was not a crime of passion, it was a message. And to understand how a man can shape violence from thousands of kilometers away, you need to understand his story and the war he set in motion. In 1971, a boy is born in Adapazarı, in the province of Sakarya, whose name will decades later become synonymous with power, violence, and myth in the Turkish underworld: Sedat Peker. His family comes from Reis, a region known for toughness, hardship, and unbreakable pride. 5 years later, they move to Istanbul, settling in Katki, a working-class district that would not produce an ordinary life. Signs appear early. Even in elementary school, Sedat Peker is known as restless, aggressive, and difficult to control. After just 1 year, he drops out. While other children learn to read and write, he works in his father's business, shoveling dirt and hauling rubble. Education never shaped him, violence did. At 13, he puts on boxing gloves and trains at Fenerbahce, one of Turkey's most prestigious sports clubs. But while others chase titles in the ring, Peker searches for confrontation beyond it. Years later, he describes his youth with one sentence: "I had to adapt all my dreams to storms and tornadoes." It is an early glimpse into a worldview built on conflict. At 16, he drifts into the drug scene, experiments, and watches friends die from overdoses. He promises himself to stay away. The promise does not last. At 17, he is involved in a knife attack, convicted of assault, and sent to prison for the first time. By 23, he has been arrested 5 times, cycling through juvenile detention, brief releases, and new violent encounters. Prison does not break him, it sharpens him. At 18, he earns a nickname that follows him for life: Reis, the leader. Later, he has it officially added to his identity documents. For others, it is a title. For him, it becomes destiny. On the streets of Skar, he forms his first gang. What begins as a loose group quickly evolves into a functioning network built on intimidation, protection money, and violence. Even mandatory military service sets him apart. A psychiatric evaluation declares him unfit, aggressive, unstable, criminally inclined. While others sleep in barracks, Sedat Peker plans his future. Then come the 1990s. Turkey is marked by instability, terror, mafia structures, and a deep state reaching into the highest levels of power. Peker understands that fists alone are not enough. He transforms his gang into an organization and seeks proximity to authority. One name stands out: General Aveli Kik, later exposed in the Susurluk scandal as a bridge between the military, intelligence services, and the underworld. According to multiple media reports, Koko opens doors for Sedat Peker that remain firmly closed to everyone else. In 1996, the smuggler Abdullah Topoğlu is murdered. Suspicion immediately falls on Sedat Peker. He is arrested, questioned, and then acquitted. It becomes a familiar pattern that follows him for decades: accusations, headlines, investigations, trials, and in the end, either no punishment at all or only brief time behind bars. A year later, in 1997, Peker flies to Romania. But instead of returning quietly or on the run, he turns his comeback into a spectacle. He lands in Istanbul on a private jet, is taken directly to Bayrampa prison, and is released again after just a few months. Even in custody, he carefully shapes his image. Prison wings are renovated. Televisions, refrigerators, and washing machines are brought in for fellow inmates. While others simply serve their sentences, Sedat Peker presents himself as a protector inside prison walls. At the same time, Turkey is shaken by the trick bank scandal. Millions of dollars are involved, along with bribes and corrupt privatization deals. Names like Aladdin Akasi and Korkmaz Yiğit dominate the headlines, and Sedat Peker's name appears alongside them. The accusation is influence peddling in the sale of the bank, linked to a $25 million commission. Once again, the case ends in acquittal. Another scandal passes without lasting consequences. In 2005, the police launched the so-called butterfly operation against Sedat Peker's organization. This time, the pressure is real. He is arrested and in 2007 sentenced to 14 years and 5 months for leading a criminal gang, forgery, and unlawful detention. While already in prison, he is also convicted in the Aden account case and receives an additional 10 years. It seems, finally, like the system has caught up with him. Yet in 2014, after special courts are abolished and pretrial detention rules are shortened, Sedat Peker walks free once again. What follows surprises many. He reinvents himself. Peker now presents the image of a charitable businessman. He donates money, supports foundations, and distributes aid supplies. According to multiple sources, he even provides vehicles to Syrian rebels. He blends nationalist rhetoric with carefully staged acts of generosity. He appears alongside the AKP at campaign events, shaking hands with President Erdogan. In 2015, he receives an award, and his public image begins to shift. But the surface transformation hides familiar traits. At rallies, he openly threatens critics. Investigations follow, yet once again they end in acquittals. Turkish media later report that in 2019 he publicly called on citizens to arm themselves. There is still no punishment. Instead, Sedat Peker receives official police protection. A man once known for knife attacks on the streets now moves through public life under state security. The question becomes unavoidable: how long can such a balance last? In 2020, Peker leaves Turkey. He moves from Montenegro to Kosovo, then North Macedonia, Albania, and Morocco. Turkish media report repeated attempts by Ankara to secure his extradition. In Morocco, a deal involving threats of retaliation is rumored to have been discussed. The king refuses. Eventually, Sedat Peker settles in the United Arab Emirates. From Dubai, living under protection, pressure intensifies. Raids target his family in Turkey, investigations strike his network. Sedat Peker responds the way he always has, through performance. He turns on a camera. On YouTube, he releases videos attacking ministers, exposing secrets, and accusing members of the political elite. Millions watch. Turkey holds its breath. A man in exile reshapes the country's political climate from a living room in Dubai. A gangster, a whistleblower, someone who understands the system and now uses it against itself. As Peker dominates headlines, another figure rises quietly, Ali Usal, known as the Sword. Unlike Peker, he avoids attention. No speeches. No videos. No spectacle. His roots trace back to Dündar Kiel, a legendary mafia figure tied to politics, the military, and black market networks. Anchored by the powerful Sarel family, Uysal expands influence through illegal betting and foreign connections. Two systems emerge. One loud and public, one silent and structural. An invisible war takes shape. Bloodstains appear across Istanbul. From Dubai, Sedat Peker still exerts influence. In Istanbul, Ali Usal consolidates power. Two worlds collide. A showdown becomes inevitable. The war ignites with a murder that initially seems ordinary. A dentist is shot dead. Officially, he was involved in shady business. What truly matters is something else. His wife comes from Trabzon, the homeland of the Sarel family. For the clan, this is no ordinary killing. It is an affront, a direct attack on honor. Days later, shots are fired in front of Sedat Peker's house. Police describe it as a private dispute. No one in the underworld believes that explanation. The message is unmistakable, and it is heard clearly. Then comes the betrayal that turns conflict into wildfire. Khan Moraton, a longtime brother figure and close confidant of Sedat Peker, switches sides. He aligns himself with Ali Usal and the Sarel family. According to Turkish media, Peker demands Moraton's elimination. The Sarel family refuses. From that moment on, the lines are drawn. Istanbul's streets become a battlefield. Motorcycles armed with Kalashnikovs race through the city. Gunfire echoes through neighborhoods at all hours. Intimidation, threats, and attacks become part of daily life. A key role is played by the Beralat group, known as Sedat Peker's silent army. Ruthless men with no faces, no interviews, and no traces. When they appear, only blood remains. Turkish media report a hit squad executing orders for Peker and controlling entire neighborhoods in Adana. The violence does not stop in Istanbul. In Athens, rivals are executed in cold blood. In Georgia, men disappear without a trace. In Italy, investigators intercept phone calls in which attacks are planned down to the smallest detail. Each act fits into a larger pattern. This is no longer about individuals, it is about proving who controls the greater empire. The victims have names. Gnese Akush, who publicly mocked Sedat Peker, is shot in June 2024. Journalist Emre Eliyek is shot in the leg. An associate of Ali Usul is wounded in Istanbul. Chest Cengiz barely survives a shooting. Osbalut, once Peker's friend and later his enemy, is shot. Journalist Irfan Aydin is hit in the legs. Boat Khan Miratan's restaurant is riddled with bullets. Every shot is more than a message. Every act proves that Sedat Peker, despite his exile in Dubai, still sets the tempo of the conflict. In 2024, police launch a major offensive. Raids, arrests, and asset seizures place serial networks under pressure. Ali Usul retreats from public view. Barban is imprisoned in Italy. The streets grow quieter, but investigators continue monitoring phone calls and shifting alliances. Rumors circulate that Barban feels used by Sedat Peker, though whether this leads to a split remains speculation. Meanwhile, a broader question emerges: how safe is everyday life for all of us? One wrong click, one unencrypted connection, and more information leaks than we realize. That is why I use a VPN, not to hide, but to encrypt connections, mask IP addresses, and reduce exposure to criminals, data collectors, or state agencies. The provider I personally use is linked below, and the 2-year package currently costs under €90. But back to the story. Despite police action, violence statistics remain grim. A veteran observer summarizes it simply: once, maybe one man a month died in Istanbul. Now it is 2 a day. The perpetrator profile is striking: mostly men in their early 20s, recruited through short-term loyalties and quick promises. Disposable teams are deployed while masterminds remain invisible. Files and indictments reveal the same structure: flexible cells, interchangeable drivers, silent logistics, and networks that rarely show themselves directly. Sedat Peker feels distant yet omnipresent. Living under heavy security in Dubai, his name dominates reports, talk shows, and investigation files. His audience is digital. His impact is political. Opposite him stands Ali Usul, rooted in quiet structures and old networks around the Serral family. Two models of power collide. Stability is not possible. The case is not closed. Hit like and subscribe for more.